Our benchmarks and tests are very unique because we also use it in relative with the temperature inside and outside the cabinet and also in relation with the power consumed during our benchmarks and stress tests. Hi, welcome to Do Fortnite. So far, you have seen what we can do with components, and you have also seen the HP workstation that we set up together. If you haven't watched that, please do watch our previous video. So, this is going to be our first build, and this is special because this is a build that I'm going to do for my son for his birthday. Now there is a detailed video showing and describing the PC, and you can see the link for that coming up here. But the point for this video is to showcase how we did the stability test, the stress test, the benchmarkings, and how we used our own methods like understanding the airflow inside the cabinet and what is the inside temperature, and for example how the CPU cooler is receiving cold air to perform the job of keeping the CPU cool, and how we are able to understand what kind of power consumption is happening during a stressful situation, how much load is going into the power supply that we have put for this PC. Is that enough, or do we need to go further, or do we need to step down? All of this, all of our methods help us to understand and to make sure this PC performs as expected or even better, and it lasts as long as it's supposed to do. So that's what you will see here. So continue watching and you will see the kind of tools and the methods that we use that for the job. And this is one of our first build that has undergone this kind of test. We normally do this on our personal builds, but now we're going to standardize this as our format of testing for all the PCs that we will be building over here. So what all did we do? Of course, we first made sure the PC can start up and it will run normally. And the first test always for us is to understand what kind of a boot time, how fast the PC boots. So you will see here very soon. One of the first things that we're going to do on this build is to understand the boot time and the power consumption, because during the first boot or when the PC is turned on, the BIOS checks almost all the components to see what are working, what's included. So during that time a lot of power is being used, and you would get to see on the power meter that how what kind of power is being consumed during the boot and how long it takes to boot. So that would be the first test. Now once we boot up and we ensure the PC is working normally, we try to put a little bit stress, push the PC a bit, push the components a bit, and for that we use a program called heavy load. Now though it sounds like it's very heavy, but it's not extremely taxing like some kind of other programs that we're going to show. Heavy load is a simple program that kind of puts a little bit stress on the graphics card and on the CPU and on the other components like the disk drive, the memory. So it's an overall tool that helps me to understand if the PC survives the heavy tool stress test and the bench test. That means the PC is kind of okay and it should be able to withstand further test. But if it fails in any of the first test like the boot test or the heavy load software synthesized test stress test, that means there is fundamentally some basic problems in this PC which has to be first diagnosed before we can go further, because the further tests are more demanding on the CPU and on the motherboard and on the power supply and the graphics card. So it's better we understand what's happening with the heavy load test, which you will see which is coming up very soon. So that is going to be the second test. And the third test, we are going to run the prime 95, which is a standard tool used by almost everyone who's involved in torture test or stress test and benchmarking of their builds. Now prime 95 can do some normal
real life test, and then it can also do some kind of torture test, which is normally not possible. So when we go through this torture test, you will see the PC has been pushed further than what it can normally do on a standard day-to-day usage, or even gaming, extreme gaming performance. Now after that, we are going to do some test using the Ada 64, which is also very popular among people, to understand what kind of configuration is on the PC, what is the components used, and what are the kind of processor and graphics card subsystems that is in the PC. So we would also do some stability test and benchmark using the Ada 64. After that, I'm pretty sure the PC is kind of stable, because if it has to go through this and survive, that means the PC is pretty capable. So that's in short the Ada 64. Now the next test that we're going to do is the 3D Mark. 3D Mark is a software that is available free to download, but the extensive test requires to be purchased. We have a licensed version of PC Mark, which we have been using it for some time. Now we would do some kind of stress test and benchmarking to understand. The stress test will give us a real life experience, because it's kind of running a game with a full screen, and it's been pushed. It's a DirectX 12 graphics game, and actually on this particular PC we are using an older model which is capable of DirectX 11, but we are going to run a DirectX 12 graphics on it, so you will see a very low frame rate. But the point being that it's not to really understand how well it performs, it's to make sure the PC survives the benchmark and the stress test and the stability test. We would get a score compared to what are the latest components of 2020, so you can see how this PC is compared to the latest gaming machines. And after that, we're just going to run CPU user benchmark, which is a free tool available online. It's a small executable you can download, and it would connect to its server and do a quick benchmark. It would give us a round figure on what are the components that's in the PC and how it's performing compared to similar configurations available elsewhere, or compared to people who have already done the benchmark. So it's a very good I use that to understand my build is compared with others. When my build is compared with others, how well it performs, what is the percentile. So it showcases how good my builds are. So if my build is good, then I should get a very high percentile compared to other people who have done similar build using similar components. So this sums up the user benchmark scores, and here we have Unreal Tournament that is being played by my son. It's being benchmarked. As you can see, we are getting an average frame rate of more than 100 frames per second on this game, and almost all the features are turned up. Now this is on an HD monitor, and it's a gaming monitor, so it's running around 144 Hz refresh rate, so that's also need to be considered. As you can see in this game right now, it's running pretty smooth and it's playable, and Unreal Tournament is the forerunner of all the first person tournament type games that is available these days, like the Fortnite and PUBG. And Unreal Tournament is free of cost. You don't have to pay anything to download and play this game, and it's really a good trainer to play the Fortnite kind of games. Talking about Fortnite, here we are with the gameplay from Fortnite. As you can see, we have around 60 frames per second. It's V-synced, so it's synced with the monitor. We are going into all epic mode in the settings. Even then, we have a very good 70 frames per second on the gameplay. Pretty acceptable. This sums up our benchmark and stress tests that we have done for this PC. Now there is some tests that we normally do which has been missed out due to time. So those tests include Cinebench, Heaven, Unigine. These kind of tests we do on most of the PCs to understand the graphic capability and the stability during heavy graphic load, similar to real live situation. And some of the games that we do is CSGO. We do the standard Shadow of the Tomb Raider. Now we have the new Doom Eternal that's been launched, Dota 2, and even PUBG. We all benchmark in those games as well, which is not seen here. Like to sum up everything that we have shown so far. Now the boot test, and then we did the heavy load, the Prime 95, the Ada 64, the 3D Mark, and then we did the CPU user benchmark, and then we did the Fortnite and the Unreal tournament. All of these have been shown in this video. The idea of this video is to provide quick insight into the PC that I built for my son. And with that, I'm ending my long video. Hope you all enjoyed, and subscribe for more upcoming detailed videos about the benchmarks and the performance tests that we perform on our upcoming PCs that are meant for gaming.
So, thank you for watching. You have a wonderful day.